Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shodanandana Vajajana Yashodanandana Vajajana Yamuna Tira Hare Krishna Paramahamsa Pariparaja Kachaya Ashto Shata Shri Shrima A.C. Bhakti Vedanta. The flow is not very smooth.
Yeah, they say it keeps freezing.
Keep freezing. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 15, entitled Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. Text number 38 and 39. Grihastasya kriya tyago varatha tyago vato api tapa sivino karama seva viksho indriya lo lata. Text number 39, please repeat. Ashrama pasada hete.
Ashrama pasada yete.
Kalvashrama vidambanaha.
Kalvashrama vidambanaha.
Deva maya vimudam satan.
Deva maya vimudam satan.
Upekshitanu kampaya.
Upekshitanu kampaya.
Ashrama pasada hete.
Ashrama pasada yete.
Kavashrama Vidambana
Kavashrama Vidambana
Deva Maja Vimutam Satan
Deva Maya Vimudam San
Upeksheta Nukampaya
Vivekshetanukamaya
Ashrama Pasada Hete
Ashrama Pasada Shete
Kavashrama Vidambana
Kavashrama Vidambana
Deva Maja Vimutam Satan
Deva Maya Vimudam San
Upeksheta Nukampaya
Upekshetanukamaya. Please, everyone who's got Wi-Fi on, turn it off just to help with the connection. Ashrama Pasada Jete
Ashrama Pasada Hete
Kalvashrama Vidambana
Kavashrama Vidambana Deva Maya Vimudam Satan Upeksheta Nukampaya
Ashrama Pasada Jete
Ashrama Pasada Hete
Kalvashrama Vidambana
Kavashrama Vidambana Deva Maya Vimudam Satan Upeksheta Nukampaya Ashrama
Ashrama
of the spiritual orders of life.
of the spiritual orders of life.
Apasadaha,
Pasada,
the most abominable.
the most abominable.
He, indeed,
Indeed,
Ete, all these,
all these,
Karu,
Kalu,
indeed,
indeed,
Ashrama,
Ashrama,
Vidambanaha,
Vidambana,
imitating and therefore treating the different spiritual orders.
imitating and cheating different spiritual orders.
Deva Maya Vimudam,
Deva Maya Vidambana,
who are bewildered by the external energy of the Supreme Lord.
who are bewildered by the external energy of the Supreme Lord.
Tan, then,
Then,
Upeksheta,
Upeksheta,
one should reject and not accept as a genuine.
one should reject and not accept as genuine.
Anukampaya,
Anukampaya,
or by compassion.
or by compassion,
Teach them real life.
teach them real life.
Translation and purport by His Divine Goddess. Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jalal.
Translation. It is abominable for a person living in the Grihastha ashram to give up the regulative principles. For a brahmachari not to follow the brahmachari vows while living under the care of the guru. For a vanaprasthita to live in the village and engage in so-called social activities, or for a sannyasi to be addicted to sense gratification. One who acts in this way is to be considered the lowest, the negligent. Such a pretender is bewildered by the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one should either reject him from any position or taking compassion upon him, teach him, if possible, to resume his original position. Purport. We have repeatedly stressed that human culture does not begin unless one tests to the principles of Varnashrama Dharma. Although Grihastha life is a concession for the enjoyment of sex, one cannot enjoy sex without following the rules and the regulations of household life. Furthermore, as already instructed, a brahmachari must live under the care of the guru. Brahmachari guru kule vasan tanto gurohitam. If a brahmachari does not live under the care of the guru, if a vanaprastha engages in ordinary activities, or if a sannyasi is greedy and eats meat, eggs, and all kinds of nonsense for the satisfaction of his tongue, he is a cheater and should immediately be rejected as unimportant. Such a person should be shown compassion, and if one has sufficient strength, one should teach them to stop them from following the wrong path in life. Otherwise, one should reject them and pay them no attention. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Umilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Conditioned souls are of two types. One is the cheater, and the other is the cheated. From our ordinary experience, we can see that lots of employers, they try to prevent the workers from being lazy or to steal. They know these people are not trustworthy. And for the businessman, the mercantile class, honesty is not a principle, or at least not the highest principle for the money makers. If to be honest, that can bring profit, yes, the businessman, they will become very honest. But if by dishonesty, they can make money, the businessman, they will behave dishonestly. And for the state administrators, we all know these people, they can't have our trust. For example, in current day situation, China, it is reported that only about 80,000 people have been infected by the virus. And lots of countries, lots of people, they doubt, how can this be possible? Just the America, they have more than 80,000 people died, not just infected, they died. And more than 1 million, between 1 and 2 millions, they have been infected. So lots of people, they question, is the Chinese government honest? Are they trying to cover up the real situation? And for the Americans, people, they also question their own government. Are these people really worth our trust? Can they give protection? Just see the disaster. And they also question the ability to make proper decisions. Using the taxpayers' money to invest on the nuclear weapon or the military defense system. Is that more important? Or is to use the money for improving the health system for the taxpayers? So people that have doubts about these state administrators. And go to a higher level for the intellectuals, for the philosophers and scientists. How much faith can we have for these people? The first meeting I had with His Holiness Devanita Swami, I openly told him that, look, I know Krishna consciousness is nice. Nice food, nice people, nice music, good meditation. But I just can't believe that God exists and there is afterlife. Even there is a soul for each and every living entity. I was fully convinced about the scientific explanation of the reality. I also told him, I'm happy to help, although I'm not convinced. And he simply said, help me to help others. And I asked him, but I'm not convinced about the foundation of Krishna consciousness. And he repeated the same words again, help me to help others. So for lots of educated persons, they're actually convinced that science, modern science, is the authority. And there's no soul, no purpose, no afterlife. The Shastra, Vedic knowledge were challenged. Do you have the qualification to see this reality which is beyond that? If we study Bhagavad Gita, we know that if one's eyes are affected by Raja and Tama, if one's heart is filled with material attachment, he actually can't see anything except the sense objects. It is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5. Actually, these lusty, materialistic persons, their eyes are blinded by the whirlwind. The dust and the sands actually cover the eyes. They can't see anything. I remember when I was a non-devotee, I was in a party practicing my skill to pick up ladies. And there were two young German ladies, backpackers, blonde hair, blue eyes. Super attractive. And I can see this is actually the prayojana. My life is ultimate goal to grab these sense objects. But there's another competitor, a guy from UK. And he's way more expert in picking up ladies. So he took away the sense objects from me. And that was the first time I felt intense envy, anger, and dissatisfaction. I never felt so envious before. You can imagine if you sit under a tree and a bird passes stool on your head. You hate it so much. You become so envious. But the feeling I had at that time was way more intense than having a bird passing stool on my head. So this is selfish, materialistic person's vision and psychology. Lust, anger, envy. They can't see anything. But Shastra recommends one to elevate his consciousness so he can see dimensions which is beyond material plane. Science, they claim to be rational and empirical. They have lots of pride in their critical scholarship, so-called critical scholarship. But actually, let's just take one field of science for our analysis. There's one science called the historical comparative linguistics. So in the 18th century, when the British, the Europeans, they entered India, when they studied the Sanskrit, particularly one scholar, his name is William Jones. He discovered that Sanskrit is related to Latin and Greek and other European languages. William Jones is expert in speaking 28 languages. He was the judge of the Supreme Court. So in 1786, he published his finding that Sanskrit and the other European languages, they have a common source. And this root language may not exist on the planet anymore. So this is his conclusion. And later on, various scholars, they pushed this theory. At that time, Europe was in intense competition among nations. Each nation tried to insert their superiority based on the body to the other nations. And then this idea of Indo-European or Proto-Indo-European language was invented, which is actually a pure speculation with no evidence at all. But the scientists or the philosophers, they have this motivation to become recognized, to become famous. Although they have no evidence, they still come up with a theory. And the governments, especially the British and the Germans, they have huge stake upon this theory. If indeed the Indo-Europeans, they call it Aryan as well. If the Aryan theory is true, then the entrance of the British will be justified. So they have this theory, and then they come up with a second theory that the person who spoke the Indo-European must be the most advanced. And their homeland is in the Europe. So they had these three speculations. So basically they say Aryans, the civilized humans, originated from Europe, and they conquered India in the year 2000 BC. So this is their speculation. And later on, the National Socialist Party of Germany, Hitler, he took up this idea, Aryan, and then used that as a social strategy to conquer other nations. They even had this flag with the Sanskrit word on it. But if we study Vedas, we understand that this is actually not bona fide. Firstly, the date 1200 BC, that is not supported in the Vedas. Vedas, they exist from time immemorial, and they were written down 5,000 years ago. Even supported by modern science, we can prove this point. The archaeologists, they analyze the date of the various sites by the bank of Saraswati River. From the satellite, they discover Saraswati River indeed existed. They discover a giant riverbed. And along this giant riverbed, there are more than 1,000 archaeological sites being discovered. When they use the technology of carbon-14 dating, they discovered that the oldest site at the date of 3,000 BC, and the earliest at the date of 1300 BC. So at the mouth of the Saraswati entering the sea, Arabian Sea, the date was much older, 3,000 BC. And in Rig Veda, there's a record saying Sri Balaram toured along the river Saraswati upstream to the source, which is the Himalayas. So this is the proof that the Vedas exists at least 5,000 years. The second point, Aryan invaded India. This is also not supported by the Shastra. In Rig Veda, there are records about India conquered the non-Aryas. And the racist colonial British and other Europeans, they took this as evidence, saying the light-skinned nomads or Europeans, they conquered the dark-skinned Indians. Actually, according to Rig Veda, the light and darkness refers to consciousness, not the bodily color. Light means the one who is in the mode of goodness and even higher. And darkness means the Malechas, the deviants of Vedic culture. So Indra, he conquered the Malechas or the Yavanas. And this conquer is not terrestrial, it's not geocentric. It is interplanetary, extraterrestrial. Thirdly, the meaning of Aya does not refer to any race, body, or external feats. In Bhagavatam, we have this definition of who is the true Arya. Arya or Aryan is the one who has the holy names constantly on his tongue. Such a person is called Arya. And those who identify the body as the self, they're actually called cows and asses. They're not Aryans. So this is the definition of Arya, means the one who advances, who chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna Mahamantra, as we mentioned previously, is actually the incarnation of Krishna. Namnam Akari Bahuda Nijasava Shaktis. Krishna, he invests all his internal potency into this holy name. So Krishna and Krishna's name are not different. One can become successful simply by chanting the holy name. All the successful goals one desire will be fulfilled. But initially, one has to become detached from material enjoyment. The holy names will not reveal themselves unless one has sufficient amount of renunciation and detachment. So at the beginning, the major focus for bhakti practitioners is to become detached, at least from the super sinful activities. As we can see from today's verse, Shastra recommends the ashram participants to follow their duty. Brahmacharis should not become independent, should live under the care of the Guru. To study the Vedas, to become a menial servant, and to assist the spiritual masters preaching. We have a very good news from yesterday. Anadi Kishora Prabhu and Keshi Nisudana Prabhu, they set up a book table nearby the shopping. And one pious gentleman gave $500 donation. 500, 600, 6. How much?
6, yeah.
$600 donation from one person. And this should be glorified. And for householders, they are given concession for limited amount of sense enjoyment, but the price to pay is that one should work for his sanctified or sanctioned amount of sense enjoyment. One should not think he can enjoy freely and without paying any responsibility. One should be responsible, at the same time try to aim for perfection in their sadhana. And for Vanaplastas, Vana means the forest. The one who retires to the forest should not stay in towns and villages to engage in social interactions. And for the sannyasis, the leaders of society, rules and regulations are of the highest standard. We have one pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The junior Haridas and his story with the Mahaprabhu. So one day, Bhagavan Acharya, who is an incarnation of a cowboy, he invited Mahaprabhu to have prasad in his place. And he asked Junior Haridas to get some rice from the sister of Shiki Mahiti. And Junior Haridas, he did that. He went to Madhavi Devi, the sister of Shiki Mahiti, and begged for some rice. Madhavi Devi, she was an elderly lady and very advanced in her practice. And Mahaprabhu, after going to Bhagavan's place, and he inquired, where is this rice coming from? Bhagavan Acharya, he said, it is from Madhavi Devi. And Mahaprabhu, he asked again, who went and brought the rice? And Junior Haridas, his name was mentioned. After the meal, Mahaprabhu, he gave order to Govinda, his personal servant. He said, from today on, do not allow Junior Haridas to come to my place. And Junior Haridas, he became very unhappy hearing that. And he fasted for 3 days. And all the devotees on the 4th day, they went to Mahaprabhu, asked Mahaprabhu to forgive the minor offense committed by Junior Haridas. And Mahaprabhu became angry and said he would leave if they asked for such a thing. And the next day, Paramananda Puri, being requested by all the devotees, went to see Mahaprabhu, asking Mahaprabhu to show favor to Junior Haridas. But Mahaprabhu insisted that if devotees have such a request, he will go to Alalanatha. Only Govinda will go with him. So one may wonder why Mahaprabhu insists to punish Junior Haridas for such a minor offense. The purport given by Kaviraj Krishnadas and the Prabhupada is that Mahaprabhu, he wanted to establish the highest standard. Junior Haridas, he was in renounced order, he was a sannyasi. And Mahaprabhu, he didn't want sannyasis, his sannyasi followers, to have any intimate contact with ladies. At that time, the social custom, the rules were much more strict than today. Although it was indeed a minor offense, firstly, it was Bhagavan Acharya who requested Juni Haridas to approach Madhavi Devi, and Bhagavan Acharya here was known as a liberal cover boy. And secondly, Madhavi Devi, she was an elderly lady, and she was an advanced devotee. Actually, she was a very intimate associate of Srimati Radharani. And thirdly, begging rice, that was for the service of Mahaprabhu. But still, Mahaprabhu here want to demonstrate the highest standard. So this is as the Pope explains, this is the beginning of becoming perfect. One follows the rules and regulations and becoming dutiful according to his varna and ashram. Then he can make advancement. Duty consciousness is the beginning of love. And the one has to become detached from the karma pala, the result of following the varna ashram system. And eventually one has to take sannyas to become detached even from the karmic activities themselves and become situated in Sudha Bhakti. Of course, in this age, the easiest way is to chant Hare Krishna. That is the most recommended path to become perfect. But for majority, Varna ashram is also very necessary. Kalandhalaj, Srimad Bhagavatam ke, Srila Prabhupada ke, Gaura Brahmananda.
His Grace, Vishnu Chaitanya Prabhu ki.